But what about a video game in 2020 that really brought back a resurgence after Sekiro? This is Ghost of Tsushima, and here's our hero, Jin Sakai. Ghost of Tsushima is an action-adventure game. Well, according to the director of the game from Sucker Punch Studios, he calls it a hamburger eastern. It's a play on the spaghetti western media archetype, western media made by eastern creators. The game is a love letter to samurai history, but goes on to commemorate and memorialize the legendary director and creator of the very movies that brought samurai to the forefront. The director of period action films is known today as the Seven Samurai, released in 1954, The Hidden Fortress in 1958, and Kagemusha in 1980, the tour de force that familiarized global audiences with Japanese movie making and storytelling styles. The gears turning yet? Dots connecting? If you've got that conclusion yet, congrats! And for those of you on your phones, TVs, or computers, in bed, still struggling to make that connection, it's the one and only Akira Kurosawa. Really, you can't do samurai without talking about the guy. He's the personification of samurai films. And Sucker Punch Studios isn't exactly gun-shy about how intrinsically important he's been to making the samurai and their code known to the world, which is another success that we can attribute to the Ghost of Tsushima, bringing to Western audiences the magic, the action, and the thrill of feudal Japan in an open-world game centered around the first Mongol invasion of Japan. The game itself centers around one protagonist, Jin Sakai, one of the final samurai, or one of the last samurai, to survive the battle on Komoda Beach as he fights to chase down the fictional relative of Kublai Khan, Khotun Khan, amassing a number of people to aid him as he makes his way across the lush landscape of Izuhara, the forests and marshes of Toyotama, and the barren, icy, mountainous region of Kamiagata to defeat the Khan and take back the island of Tsushima from Mongol control. Now, this game forces you to make decisions that will go against that code, which I'll be talking about later. But the narrative of the game is so good and it's so intense that you want to keep playing. You want to go over it again and again. You want to make different decisions every single time. You want to have a different approach every single time, just to know what the game is offering and how well it holds up across all of those playthroughs. Let's talk about why the game is so much fun. First off, is the combat. It's consistently requiring Jin to consistently evolve as a character, and since the Mongols were historically the most advanced military at that time in 1274 or 76, which is the same time period that Ghost of Tsushima is operating within, Jin has to become something more, a symbol of fear, justice, vengeance, reckoning, which is formally given the name the Ghost. Sounds very Batman-esque, doesn't it? Props to that, by the way, because that was one of the inspirations for becoming the Ghost. Because when we look at Batman, the first thing that comes to mind is his iconic dialogue saying, "I am vengeance, I am the knight, I am Batman." But as you proceed through the game, you level up and upgrade and earn perks, similar to how it would be in an RPG. You earn stances that help you deal with different enemy and weapon types. So the 4 stances you have available to you in the game are stone, wind, air, and water stance. You also have access to a bow for ranged attacks, which is a lot more accurate to the timeline of events, especially the period that it exists within, as the katana or the wakizashi and the tanto weren't exactly as widely used around the 1200s. They were more important as we got closer to the Meiji Restoration and after, around the 1500s. But over time, you also learn how to use very Batman-esque tools to clear out enemies in stealth instead of engaging them in combat continuously. Call back to Batman. In the midpoint of the game, the second act, where you were operating only in Toyotama after liberating Izuha.
Continue down this path.
Jin earns
be no better
access
than the
to
Mongols.
the Ghost Stance, a form that turns the screen red and black,
trained you to
allowing
fight
Jin
with
to
honor.
dispatch 3
Honor
enemies without any
died
of them
on the
attacking
beach.
as they respond
The
in
Khan
fear to your
deserves to
attack,
suffer.
and forces them to run for the hills. Almost
Ruled by
literally
your
in some
emotion.
cases. The Batman
I sacrificed everything I knew to save our people.
Smoke bombs,
I gave them
wind
hope.
chimes, black
You did
powder bombs,
nothing.
and firecrackers that act as distractions or decoys, or as points to weaken your enemy to create an opening for you to take them out. The visual choices made in the game are stunning. They're gorgeous because, I mean, if you've ever gone across the internet and you've looked at a picture of Japan, whether it be the cities, whether it be the forests, and thought it wasn't an amazing look. The accessible areas are so viscerally and visually stunning that it feels as if you're standing there in that moment. The game is also very much a character. The environment is a character of its own. It oscillates between different weather patterns and time of day, responding according to your actions in either condemnation or in acceptance. So what happens is if you were to assassinate someone or if you were to use Ghost Stance, the weather would suddenly get dark, stormy, thunderous. It would even start raining. But as you move a little more honorably, as engaging in full-fledged combat in stone stance or water stance or air stance or earth stance, you're going to get weather patterns that are going to be clearer. It's going to be a clearer sky, it's going to be brighter, it's going to be sunny. But this is all heightened by the game's Kurosawa mode that they contacted the Kurosawa estate for to use Akira Kurosawa's name for that mode. So this mode is technically a filter. So the tones of the game go from the bright coloring of the original landscape to a very highly exposed, highly unexposed, high contrast environment in black and white, where the effects are a lot more dramatic, as you would see in a Kurosawa movie like Seven Samurai or in Kagemusha. So, I mean, it's a gorgeous game. And the guidance systems in the game is you don't really have a map. What you have is what's called a guiding wind. Now, the explanation for that in the game is, so from what we know in the game is that Jin's father was the other person from was the only samurai from Clan Sakai to fall in battle in a raid. Now, when his father died, his uncle, the Jito Tsushima, Lord Shimura, he tells him that your father is the wind on your back that guides you. And that is the principle that the game uses to guide you towards your objectives or whatever marker you put down on your map, which is accessible in a different screen. It doesn't show up as part of the heads-up display as it would in most open-world games like Assassin's Creed or in Batman, the Arkham games specifically. So that is one interesting choice, and it certainly adds to Jin's character, as he is consistently guided by the principles of his father and the principles instilled into him by the Samurai Code, and yet he still has to go out of his way to move beyond that code, become something that the Mongols will fear. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, this retrospective on this brilliant video game. And if you did, please like the video, share it with your fellow gamers, your family, your friends, and subscribe to the channel because every little bit of support helps me. Please leave a comment below with your opinions of the game if you've played through it or you have a request for a specific topic. Please leave it in the comments below or in a Google form that I'll be leaving in the description. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Later.